Welcome to TWIN BUSCH Germany, your competent specialist since 1997 in professional vehicle workshop equipment. With a corporate headquarters in Germany and 9 other branches in 7 countries, as well as over 40 sales partners worldwide, we are one of the leading manufacturers of vehicle lifts, tire balancers, and tire mounting machines. Hello, I'm Tweenie. In this video we will show you how to assemble the TW445 4-post lift from TWIN BUSCH. Before you start, you should think about how to place your TWIN BUSCH 4-post lift in the room. To make the best use of your available space, you should draw a line from the back wall, allowing enough space to be able to work comfortably on the lift. The baseline you draw is the edge of the post foot. The motor unit will be about 240 mm over your drawn line. The distance of your escape routes depends on the amount of people working in the area. Normally you would need 1 meter from the walls. This may vary depending on the local safety regulations. Now draw parallel lines to mark the back and front of the lift. The dimensions of the lift can be found in the owner's manual. Draw another line next to the main line to act as a guide for the platform. This should be 480 mm wide. All other measurements can now be taken from the left-hand side platform. For the assembly you will need a ratchet with a 21 mm socket for removing the transport frame, 2 30 mm wrenches, 1 27 mm wrench, 1 21 mm wrench, 2 19 mm wrenches, 2 13 mm wrenches, a flat and cross screwdriver, a set of Allen keys, a circlip plier and wire cutters, be sure to check that all nuts and bolts are tightly fastened during assembly. You will need space to open the packaging. Place the package so you can access both sides. You will need to lift parts of the package several times. In this case we are using a forklift. Let's remove the protective foil. The top platform of the package is also the main platform, containing the lifting mechanism. This will be later attached to the left-hand side where the motor unit is placed. To remove the left platform you will have to lift it slightly. Use appropriate straps for lifting to protect the paint. When the straps are lightly under tension, you can remove the 4 bolts from the top platform. If possible, you should have someone check that the platform does not get caught on the frame. To make things easier, we use Euro pallets to support and move the platforms in this video. When planning your lift, don't forget to leave space for the escape routes. Take care not to trap any hoses or cables when lowering the platforms. You should try to place the platforms as exact as possible. This will save you a lot of work later. Now move the pallets aside to make room for the second platform. Remove the small parts and packets between the posts. Here are the supplied parts, as well as the motor unit. You can find the anchor bolts, oil hose, multi-plug, limit switch, 4 covers for the crossbeam, 2 anti-roll-off plates and the release system. Please read the manual before you start the assembly. Remove the 4 posts and place them at the position where they will later be required. The first post which we see is the post with the bracket for mounting the motor. This should be placed at the back left-hand side. The remaining posts may now be placed on the other 3 corners. The crossbeams connect the front posts and back posts. The holes where the safety lock will be placed should be on the front and back left-hand side, as shown. Now let's remove the right-hand side platform. You will need to make 2 pallet supports. Lift the platform slightly and remove the remaining bolts from the transport frame. Place the platform carefully onto the pallets. Now move the platforms into the intended position, taking care to be as exact as possible. The right-hand side platform can be later adjusted. The left-hand side should be fixed first, as this is harder to move later. Now let's fit the front 2 posts to the crossbeam. This is easier when laid down. Remove the nuts from the post tops and pull out the safety ladder. When mounting the safety ladders, use wooden blocks. You will need a little force to push the ladders through the guide. Put the cross beams aside and lock the ladders in the first safety catch. Now the ladders can be put back into the posts. Guide the thread through the post and place the bottom end in the bracket. You might have to slightly turn the post to fit the ladder. Fit the nut back onto the ladder thread. Repeat these steps with the second cross beam and the 2 back posts. Now stand the posts up and connect to the left-hand platform. Be very careful that the columns cannot tip over before you have securely fixed them to the ground. First, remove the covers and the bolts for the platforms. Under the front cover you can find the safety release rods. Under the back cover is the wire for the slack cable system. Now remove the steel cable from the left-hand platform. The short cable is for the front left post and the long cable for the front right post. To remove the long cable, cut the cable ties in the middle. Carefully lift the crossbeam to a safety catch just under the platform, being careful not to lift too high. Before you place the crossbeam under the platform, you have to set the slack cable mechanism. You can use a large screwdriver to do this. This makes fitting the cable later easier. Watch when fitting the cable that when under tension that all is okay, and on the left hand side that the cable is under the release rod. After placing the main platform in position, fit the screws and lower the platform. Repeat this step for the back posts. Here you also have to remove the cable ties. Here you should set the cable mechanism also. Now you can mount the anti-roll-off plates, unless you plan to put ramps at the back. Now that the left-hand side ramp is mounted, you can place the right-hand side in position. Use a lift to position the right-hand platform. Here we are using the right hand holes to fit the platform, or if required you can use the left hand side holes for smaller, narrower vehicles. This we repeat at the opposite end of the platform. The pallets are no longer needed. Next, we fit the steel cables. To do this we pull out the cylinder completely. Before we go on with the assembly, let's take a short look at the finished steel cable guidance. The steel cables are laid from the hydraulic cylinder to pulleys at both ends of the platform, leading up to the top of the posts. When the hydraulic cylinder pulls together, all 4 steel cables lift the platform simultaneously. Remove the nuts from the cable ends. Push the cable through the crossbeam to the opposite platform, and from there to the pulley at the top of the post. Here you can see the cable guide between the pulley and the small wheel for the slack cable system. Mount the cable in the hole exactly over the pulley, so that the cable is vertical. Let's take a look at the short cable end. It's better to make a loop to fit this. At this side from our view, the pulleys are facing right, which means you should use the right hand hole in the top plate. After fitting all 4 cables, you can roughly adjust the cable tension. After fitting, you should insert the safety bolt to prevent the cable coming off the pulley. Now let's take a look at the control box. Inside the box you will find screws and cable ties. Fix the control box with the 4 delivered screws to the main post. This is the post with the bracket for the motor. Here's a tip. Screw the control box lid to the side to prevent damaging the wires. You should now adjust the limit switch. To do this, loosen the screw and pull out the arm about halfway. Tighten. Once finished, remove the 2 back screws. Push the cable through the hole from the inside of the post. When mounting the limit switch, make sure that it is fixed at a slant, using the adjacent corner holes. Here the graphic. Now let's push the limit switch wire through the post. Please note, the following electrical installation should only be carried out by a qualified electrician. The wires in the control box are all numbered. Only connect the corresponding numbers to each other. Now we can mount the bracket for the limit switch. For the final adjustment, it is recommended to raise the lift almost to the height of the limit switch. The limit switch wheel should touch the middle of the bracket and should not touch the post. For the next step, it is advised to lay the cable over the top of the control box to keep it out of the way. Now let's mount the motor unit. You should loosely fit 2 bolts, spacers, and washers to the top holes of the bracket. Then you can hang the motor onto the lift and fit the bottom bolts. Now tighten the bolts. Remove the plastic nut from the middle of the control box and take out the rubber ring. Push the wire for the motor through the nut and replace the rubber ring. Fit the earth wire to the bracket first. Then connect the rest, as shown in the manual. Finally, connect the wire for the electromagnet release valve. Now we are finished connecting the control box. This can now be closed. Mounting the oil hose, remove the protective cap and nut from the connector. We fit the hose from the inside of the platform. Now we can connect the motor unit. Make sure that all the connections are tight. Fill the tank with 10 liters of hydraulic oil. Now that the oil is in the tank and the hydraulic connected, we are able to test the lift. Don't forget that the slack cable system will be activated, so you will have to press the bypass button and up button together. Raise the lift about 1 meter, so you can work easier. Lowering is not possible until you fit the safety release. Let's take a look at the slack cable switch. First, remove the protective cap from the multi-plug and connect it to the control box. Push the other end through the hole in the platform. Let's start with the wire on the inside of the main platform, using the guides to route them. Before we go on, let's look at the last stage. On this picture you can see the wire from the right hand side switch. On the left hand side you can see the wiring on which we are now working. The cable ends are neatly tucked away underneath the platform. Connect the plugs for the slack cable mechanism. These are clearly marked. Then we fit the slack cable wire from the opposite end. Feed the wire through the hole in the crossbeam. And guide pipes back to the multi-connector. Use the corresponding letters when connecting the wires. Before we carry on with the front side of the wiring, let's connect the remaining plugs to their correct letters. Now fit the front left wire for the slack cable. Be careful not to trap any wires, and keep away from the steel cables. Here you can see how the wiring should look. The wire for the front right post should be fitted through the long pipe. At the front right hand side next to the pulley you can see the wire which we are working on, and the one which is finished. Here we fit the wire from the right hand side. Lay the wires parallel to the air pipe. This is for an optional jacking beam and is not needed for this assembly. You can now finish this step and connect the remaining two connections to the long wire in the platform. Here once more the finished wiring. Now we can fit the safety mechanism to the front side. For this remove the spring washer from the rod, and place it in front of the nut. Before fixing the release mechanism you should lay the right hand rod on top of the thread. Screw on the connecting piece. In order to attach the rod you will have to push the back end through the hole in the platform. Now tighten the connection. Adjust the rod to the right length by turning and fasten with the screws supplied. Our tip: use a ring spanner to hold the nut. It makes fitting easier. Finally tighten all the fittings. Now you can fit the covers at the front. At the back side of the lift, the release lever is connected to the long rod. On this side, the left rod should be placed on top of the threaded shaft, so that when turned clockwise the rods pull together. Next you can attach the lever holder. This has the function of releasing the lever when the platform reaches the floor. Check that it can move freely. Mount the release rod as done at the front side. Finally fit the cover. Before you mount the inside cover, make sure all wires are laid correctly and are fixed with cable ties. When mounting the covers, don't forget to place the air pipe. Before attaching the ramps, remove the circlip, remembering to replace it when you are finished. If chosen, you could also fit 2 ramps to the front side, enabling a driving on, driving off function. Now you can screw on the covers and the foot protection. Raise and lower the lift completely to check the function of the limit switch. This is also necessary to align the posts. Now we are finished with the assembly of your 4-post lift. Before use, secure the lift with the anchor bolts provided. Check the position of the posts and adjust accordingly before you tighten the bolts. Here we show an example of how to drill and fix the anchor bolts. Be careful to drill the right size and depth, and the right concrete thickness. If the anchor bolts are not fixed correctly, or if the concrete does not conform to the technical requirements, this could affect the stability of the lift. The exact technical requirements can be found in the instruction manual. To fix the anchor bolts you do not have to move the lift. Drill vertically and take care of the depth. Be sure to remove all dust and debris from the drill hole. Drive in the anchor bolt carefully and straight, using a sledgehammer. Before tightening the nuts, Check your columns to make sure they are correctly aligned and level. If necessary, you can level the posts with the delivered spacers. When the posts are level, tighten the nuts with a torque wrench to 120 Newton meters. Be sure to tighten all nuts, bolts and hydraulic hose fittings before working on your lift. How to fit your jacking beam. In the delivered package, you will find a steel wire for the attachment of the air hose, hooks for the wire, air hose, and brackets for the jacking beam. Using a motor crane or a suitable alternative, position the jack over the runners on the platforms. Before lowering, adjust the size of the extensions using a lever. Lower the jack onto the runners. For the next step, raise the lift to make working easier. After making sure that the jack is positioned in the middle, tighten the screws. Then you can mount the brackets to prevent the jack from falling from the track. Fitting the steel wire for the air supply. Place the hooks in the prepared holes. Do the same for both sides. Then hang the spring onto the hook. Next, connect the air hose to the jack. Feed the steel wire through the air hose and hook it up to the platform. And then plug in the air hose. When the air connection is attached, you can test the jack. Release the safety lock and lower the jack. Then fit the lifting plates and raise the jack again. Test the extension arms by pulling them outwards. Now you are finished with the jack assembly. We wish you a great time with your twin bush lift. Enjoy, and thank you for choosing Twin Bush.